Hello, I'm Hannah, and this is Hannah's Books. I've been away for a while, from booktube and from home, visiting family in South Carolina. I've recently arrived back, and I'm a little swamped trying to catch up with work. To be honest, it's been quite an adventure trying to get everything back in order after my time away, but not an exciting adventure you'd want to hear about. Instead, I thought I would share a very short little video about my travels. First, I arrived late one afternoon in South Carolina, and after unpacking, went to dinner with my brother at a new Uzbek restaurant in Myrtle Beach. The building used to be a Chinese restaurant back in the 1980s, I think, which my grandmother really loved. My brother, who is fascinated by the Silk Road, from its music to its various culinary traditions, is also always excited to see the town become more and more cosmopolitan. He had a special reason for wanting to check out this particular restaurant, which I'll get to in a minute. When we walked in, there was absolutely no one in the restaurant. The man who took our order was quite friendly, and one of the owners, I think, and we chatted with him a bit before the food arrived. He brought us a special tomato and onion salad that his mother had just made, which wasn't on the menu but was absolutely delicious, as all the food was. After chatting for a long time, we headed back. Usually I stay at my grandmother's old house where my brother lives, but this time I decided to stay in a hotel on the beach for reasons that will become clear very soon. So he dropped me off. A few hours later, at midnight, my son arrived on a late flight from Boston. After getting a little sleep, we took a long walk on the beach, loving watching the waves and the birds flying along the shore, and kind of weirded out by the enormous number of jellyfish that had washed up recently, maybe one every 6 feet as we walked up the beach. Eventually, we turned around and walked back to our hotel. And on the way, we were shocked to see 4 enormous military helicopters, Chinooks, flying together as a unit right along the shore, quite low. It disturbed us both. When we got back to the room, we did some searching online, and it seems that a few weeks ago, when there were significant fires nearby, a National Guard helicopter had assisted with water dumps. But 4? I didn't take any footage, but the next day there were another 3 Chinooks in the air over the ocean. That day, my son Abraham and I walked down the beach to the boardwalk for lunch at an old favorite spot where we ordered heroes. And I got my son to pose for a photograph at this aptly named place. And soon, the big events of the weekend began. We headed to the old train depot, a building that has been restored fairly recently for events, where my brother and his fiancée were setting things up for a rehearsal for their wedding, which would take place the following day. And then afterwards, the 2 of them took family on both sides, as well as the 2 officiants and their spouses, to dinner at the Uzbek restaurant we had checked out a few days before. What a phenomenal meal. My brother had arranged with the owner to provide a diversity of dishes arriving throughout the evening. And we finished with what I believe was called a honey pie, which was, as my brother said, what tiramisu dreams of being when it grows up. The next day I put on my dress, and my son put on his tie, and we headed to the celebration. I read from the Song of Songs from the Hebrew Bible. My son played a special song on violin, The Almond and the Olive. And the happy couple also shared a translation of a poem from Rumi. What they did not realize is that my brother read a different translation of that Rumi poem at my wedding to David 30 years ago. It was a very special moment for me. The reception was lovely. A wonderful Middle Eastern dinner, a Greek band that taught everybody group dances, a beautiful cake made by a baker who was friends with my mother before she died last year. And after the majority of guests had left, but the band was still playing, my brother and my new sister-in-law had time to really celebrate together without thinking about anything else. I loved watching them together. Here's just a couple of little moments. So I've called this an adventure, and I'm not sure all of you will buy that. After all, my brother is the one having the real adventure, getting married at the age of 50 to an amazing woman. But it was my adventure too. I've never been to my brother's wedding. In fact, I haven't been to any wedding in a very long time. And I don't think I've ever seen my brother looking so radiantly happy. I adore his new wife and love their sweet little new house in its charming neighborhood. What a joy to see them create their new life. And mostly, this was the first wedding I've attended since David died. I thought about him a lot, not just when I read from the Song of Songs, which he loved, or listened to the poem from our wedding. I thought how he would be smiling and crying, which he always did at moments of great joy and beauty. And I thought about how much he would have enjoyed the dancing, and how much I would have enjoyed dancing with him. This kind of memory is slowly going from being sad to being sweet. Thank you all for being here today. See you again soon here on Hannah's Books.